regular meeting of the Bath Local Schools Board of Education, Tuesday, July 15th, 2025 at 7 p.m. Roll call.
Mrs. Ernest.
Here.
Mrs. Skelly.
Here.
Mr. Kennedy.
Here.
Mr. Lighty.
Here.
Mr. White.
Here.
Stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first on the agenda is recognition of students and staff, and since Mr. Estes is not with us tonight, we will skip that item. Next on the agenda is board responses to previous communications. We have none. Next on the agenda is hearing of the public items on the agenda, blue cards. We have none of those either. Next is items from board president. We will start with the administrator's report with Jared Rex.
Well, that was quick. Maybe I'll just sit at that chair up there.
Sure.
Whatever. I want to put my back to people. Anyways, really glad to be here tonight. Get an opportunity once a year to do this, and obviously you see on the agenda it coincides with the end of my tenure at Bath also. So I guess that was convenient, or maybe not. But so anyways, I thought about tonight. I thought, well, hey, this is a great opportunity to use about an hour of your time and ask for more money for more stuff, which is what I've always done in the past. But no, I'll pass on that. But first of all, just use this opportunity. I think I don't know if you saw the resignation letter I submitted or whatever, but me absolutely every word of that. Just been a tremendous experience here at Bath. Appreciate the opportunity that this board, Mr. Dakin extended to me, and then Mr. Estes to continue with him. Joel, I like Joel really well. Love the open POs and just made things way more efficient. So been a tremendous experience. Also a tremendous experience for my granddaughter at Bath Elementary School. That was not part of my plan when I took this position, and I think about probably 2 or 3 weeks after I started, all of a sudden my wife and I found that we had custody of her, and it's like, well, hey, this Bath Elementary seems like a pretty cool place, and I cannot tell you, that was just life-changing for her. So I'm just grateful to our elementary staff and just all the great things that they did. So when we think about technology, our focus really for this whole 3 years has been customer service primarily. It's not about Jared. Nathan Freed is a big part of what we do. It's not about Nathan, it's about our staff, it's about our students, taking care of them. Really pleased this last year how that's went. We pretty much have been consistent to the fact that if somebody emails our Tech Help account or sends a smoke signal, that they're getting service usually within the hour or certainly within that morning or that afternoon, and we've continued that. That's been a great thing. We've enjoyed that. The other thing to me that on a personal level, I've done this now, 14 years, I think, at least in school tech. One of the things that was neat to me this year, there was a time for about 4 weeks where Nathan had to be off for a health issue. And things just continued to run with one person in the district. So when you look at a district this size and the ability to handle it from a tech perspective with one person, that was kind of cool. I would not want to do that for an entire school year, but that was really neat. 2 things that I wanted to talk about. The board actually it's 2 meetings because there was a little jockeying with the financing, but I wanted to talk about our new camera system. We are ecstatic. I'm ecstatic because that was one of the final things on my list that we wanted to upgrade. But we have a camera system that's ancient. Our newest cameras are what's in our elementary school. Actually, some of those have been replaced. So we've got cameras as old as 16, 17, 18 years. But anyways, about 3 weeks ago, we started installing cameras. Right now, we're focused on replacing all the existing cameras. And then we're also adding about 50 new ones across the district. But we finished the high school, we finished the middle school. Outside, well, there's a couple in the auditorium. If you ever noticed in the auditorium, there's these cameras way up. So we're trying to delegate to somebody on the maintenance team to climb up there. And we started in on the elementary here this week. So we're a little bit behind because of the juggling with that financing, but we're on track here, hopefully by early August, to have all of our existing camera locations replaced. And then we're going to be adding those additional ones. The new camera system, though, is amazing. I want to talk about AI secondly, and that's really part of it. But it has AI capabilities, so when you go back and our administrators need to search footage, as they develop all these AI modules, I mean, they'll have the ability to search for the male character with a red hoodie. I mean, it's that kind of intelligence and stuff. It's even got features like, it's fascinating to me, but from a cleaning perspective. You can go back on your cameras and you can say, I want to see heat maps of where people walk. So like if there's a big space and you look at it, you say, well, guess what? Everybody actually walks through this corner of the room every time. So like you don't even have to clean the whole room every night, if that makes sense. And there's things that just boggle your mind. The other nice thing about these cameras is they've got a audio capabilities. Our current cameras don't have that. So that's going to give our administrators, they're going to be the ones that decide which ones have audio or not. But that'll be kind of another tool for them as they're trying to resolve what happened in a hallway or whatever, those kind of things. So we're excited about that. That's going to be just a first-class solution for the school district and going to be really cool. AI has been a big focus for me, certainly in the last year. To me, artificial intelligence from a school tech perspective is more exciting than when we put one-to-one laptops with students because of just the capabilities of that. This past year at Bath, we were able to work with some smaller groups of teachers at the elementary and middle school. Principals selected them. We gave them some additional access to AI. Particularly, we used a Google product called Gemini. Mr. Estes used it also some this year. Got a lot of good feedback from that. I'm kind of leaving that to my successor and then Mr. Estes, our administrators, to decide what AI implementation looks like. But it's just unbelievable. I wanted to do one kind of party trick for you. But I don't know, do you have a copy of your board minutes, like from the last month, like in your agenda?
Not printed.
Not printed, okay. No. So I pulled it off the website earlier today, and I've read a lot of board minutes in my life. Let's be honest, board minutes are kind of boring. They're functional, but to talk to you about the capabilities of AI and how that works, I just wanted to play for you, and I'm going to give you a few examples. But so what it is, I took our board minutes from, I think it was the June board meeting, I put it into our Google Gemini. One of the features, and this really applies to, as Jeremy's sitting here tonight, special education. You can take instructional materials and you can just stand it on its head and do all kinds of things. I'm a person, and I enjoy reading, but I'm a better listener or visual learner. But I took our board minutes and I threw it into AI and I said, hey, create a podcast, and here's the PDF of the board meeting. And that's literally all I did. So I apologize, hopefully everybody can hear this, but.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're plunging right into the minutes of a local meeting, specifically the Bath Local School District Board of Education's regular meeting from June 24th, 2025.
Yeah, our goal here is really to show you the sheer range of decisions, you know, the ones that shape a school district day to day. We're talking staffing, money, safety.
We're only going to do about 2 minutes of this.
Exactly, it's a behind the scenes look. And for context, the board members were all there. Mrs. Ernest, Mrs. Kelly, Mr. Kennedy, Mr. Lady, Mr. White.
Right, and they kick things off unanimously adopting the agenda. So, ready to dive in?
Let's do it. First up, personnel. Always a big one. There were quite a few significant.
I'm going to let this play for about a minute and a half, but it's talking about that first part of the agenda. When you think about the complexities, as you hear them talk about it, it's fascinating what they drew out of just some printed material.
Moves, approvals, some resignations, retirements.
Definitely. We saw folks like Daniel Grime, high school teacher, leaving. Stephen Hanhold, another HS teacher, also big in the band program.
Oh yeah, multiple band roles for Handball.
Yeah.
And Cheryl Berkemeyer, library assistant, and Kiana McNamara, the transportation supervisor. These aren't minor roles.
Not at all. Losing that kind of experience could be, well, tricky. But here's where it gets interesting.
Okay.
They're using a retire-rehire strategy. Yeah. So Daniel Grime, he retired,
Uh-huh.
but then was immediately rehired. 1 year limited contract, still as an HS teacher. Plus, they approved him as MSDS coordinator that's handling key state data.
Ah, important stuff.
Very. And head cross-country coach too.
Wow, okay, so keeping that experience in-house. Smart.
Exactly. Same thing happened with Cheryl Berkemeyer, the library assistant. Retired, then rehired on a 1 year contract.
It's a way to manage transitions, I guess. And they're bringing in new people too.
Yep. Alexander Kinyer, for instance, hires a teacher, and he's picking up several of those band roles, like jazz band, assistant marching band director.
So a mix of retaining veterans and bringing in fresh talent.
Precisely. And you'll put place students.
Well,
So a lot of
I
collaboration
jumped to the end now.
versus student needs.
this, it makes you wonder, what do all these specific tangible decisions, the cameras, the contracts, the retiree hires, what do they tell you about how incredibly complex running a local institution like a school district actually is?
That's the key takeaway, isn't it? For you listening, it means these, well, sometimes dry-sounding local meetings, they're packed with insights into how our communities function, how they support education, safety, everything. You
Sounds like Joel might need a raise after listening to that, but. So anyways, long story short, and that's kind of humorous, but imagine educationally, you could take a source document that's PDF, you could turn it into audio, you could turn it into a different language, you could turn it into third grade reading level. I mean, just so many, and I could probably be quiet and let Jeremy just go on and on and on. But the capabilities of AI are just completely game changing. I know for me, as I go forward professionally, I plan to really strongly advocate for it. But it's just, it's unbelievable what it does. Really two things. Obviously enhances what we do educationally, but then the other really cool thing about it is that it allows our teachers to, I mean, what's the one thing that you can't give them more of? It's time. But AI, when it's used properly, allows our teachers to claw back some of that personal time where the teachers that really want to go the extra mile and do things where they can leverage AI to make themselves more efficient. And I think that's a really cool thing about it. So I've learned in these transitions, I'm not gonna give you a 3-year vision or plan. I'll give that to the next woman or next guy for whatever they want to advocate for. But certainly I think AI is something that's coming, and it's actually already here, and it's a good thing to take advantage of. But overall, like I said, we're really proud of our school district, certainly from a tech perspective. Just done a lot of great things, and I have enjoyed immensely my opportunity to be here at Bath. I'm transitioning out to Nevada. I won't be there forever, I'm sure, but certainly, and maybe hopefully for my granddaughter, she can maybe be a Bath High School student someday. She's entering 6th grade now, but certainly it's been a good place for our family. But happy to answer any questions about tech or anything else.
I'd just like to thank you for you being part of the permanent improvement list that we've really tried to create that rolling list of what the age lifespan of things are. And in the tech world, unfortunately, some of those things are like 3-year lifespan as opposed to, boiler system is a 30-year lifespan. So, but I think you've given us a good roadmap for that, and I appreciate it.
appreciate it.
And what's exciting is cameras were the last thing. So now that those are in place, everything is then on a schedule where things can be potentially replaced before they go bad. And that's a cool place to be. So we don't have to be reactionary, we can be proactive.
I'd like to thank you too, Jared. And Nathan's a great kid. He's a lifesaver, so.
Yeah, it's definitely was never about Jared, and it's a team effort. Nathan is first class. Best decision I ever made about was hiring him.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank
good.
you. Wish you the best.
Next on the agenda is student achievement liaison, and we have no. So, next is superintendent's report. Since again Mr. Estes is not here today, we will proceed. Next is additions to the agenda action items. We are going to add an executive session regarding a matter that's required to be confidential. Next is adoption of the agenda and action items. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved by Mr. White, seconded by Mrs. Kelly. Any discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Kelly,
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Mr. Lighty,
Yes.
Mr. White,
Yes.
Mrs. Ernst.
Yes. Okay. Next is superintendent's consent agenda. And again, with Mr. Estes' absence, I will take his place. Be it resolved by the Board of Education of Bath Local School District, a majority of its members, Karen, concurring with the recommendation from the superintendent, that the following items be approved. Recommendation for employment resignation. First is certified staff, certified change in employment, Jeremy Clark, Special Education Director, change in job title to Director of Student Services. Next is classified staff, classified resignations. I won't read through all of these, but we have 2 resignations. Next is classified employment. We have 1 new hire, our transportation supervisor, which I think that might be him over there. Next is classified state and federally funded contracts. We have a long list of those. Item D is classified co-curricular employment. We have 2. And then number 3 is volunteer coaches, and we have 1, Benjamin Burton for girls golf. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved by Mr. Lighty, seconded by Mr. Kennedy. Any discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. Lighty?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mrs. Ernest?
Yes.
Mrs. Skelly?
Yes. Okay, Mrs. Treasurer's report.
Okay. Yeah, kind of exciting time of year since June 30. We're wrapping up the fiscal year, so we should have brought the Happy New Year cake or something as we start a new year July 1. But still a few things to talk about legislatively, where some things are at, where they're not at. But this shouldn't be too painful tonight. I tried to shorten it from where we were probably at least a month ago, maybe. As we wrap up the June 30 numbers for, again, kind of complete this fiscal year. Revenues at 20.3 and expenditures at 29.3. And again, the expenditures are a little higher as we've moved those dollars into capital improvement funds, and we'll kind of highlight that on one of the next slides. Again, that net loss of $9 million seems high, but it's part of the dollars going into that capital improvement fund, which we will have for future projects. So ending June 30, 25 balance of $7.4 million. Again, kind of that breakdown, you can see the real estate at $7.6 million, personal property tax 1.9, state aid at 8.6, homestead rollback just under $1 million, other 1.2 million. So there's kind of our total of 20.3 million on the expense side. Salaries at 11.5. Retirement insurance 3.9 million, purchase service 4.6, and again the purchase service is probably up a little bit as we kind of had some of those projects last summer that would have been paid out in August, September, that would have kind of elevated that purchase service with some of the repairs that we did last summer. There's quite an extensive list. Supplies at 875,000, and again as we get down to transfer advance, the transfers, those dollars go into the capital improvements fund. Again, I'll show that I think on the next slide for the total expenditures of 29.3 million. Again, just kind of graphing it. You can see the green, the real estate tax, the state aids in blue, to kind of give you that flavor for what is that makeup for dollars coming to Bath local schools. Again, that real estate tax number, and still a lot of discussion, a lot of debate at the legislative level on how are we doing, what's the property tax reform going to look like? And I think from our perspective, we would like to see property tax reform done, but again, I think we'd like to see it done in a thoughtful manner. Not something that would be rushed, but something that's put a lot of thought into, so we're not hurting services, whether we're talking schools, fire, police, senior citizens. There's a whole slew of services that I think that, we want to make sure that the process is done right, and I think that's part of our message. Again, looking at the salaries and wages, purchase service benefits, you can see those pieces of the pie. Again, the purple would be that transfer out, and again, we'll talk a little bit more about that. Cash balance June 30 over time, you can kind of see going back to 2021, you're at 14.7 million. 22, 15.2, 15.7, last year 16.5. This year we're really at 14.9 million. When you consider the 7.4 million in the general fund, those 70 funds got $7.5 million again for capital projects down the road. Again, give you that feel for where we're at June 30. That question keeps coming up in now it's even emails today talking about that. Is that 40%? It really it's vetoed by the governor. It's not going to, I don't think we're looking at veto override on that issue. But are they going to go about it another way to get to that number by maybe giving the, more authority to say the county auditor and that group? Are they going to have the authority and more authority than kind of what we were first thinking of, making adjustments to our tax revenue in the future. So I think that's the one that we're really watching on, how that's debated, how it's, if they override that one, override that veto, and somehow give that authority to the county auditor or the prosecutor. You know, I worry about that being some type of political arm of somebody or some party that they're gonna say, you know, some county auditors would view that differently than other county auditors. To me, if the voters here levy a tax, whether it's for a building or a PI project, you know, to me, there's no greater accountability than trying to run a levy. You know, try it sometime. It's not that easy. You know, to tell people we're gonna, you know, we wanna tax you. So for them to override a vote of the people, I think is a little bit un-American to some level. But, so again, I wanted to look at our numbers. Next fall, when we do the forecast, that line 505 for us, as far as total expenditures, is probably gonna be closer to this 29.3 million when I look at line 505. If I take 40% of that number at 11.7 million. So, you know, if I'm 40% of 11.7, you know, our ending cash is 7.4. We're probably in a much better spot when we talk about those dollars that we've set aside for capital improvements. So to me, hopefully the county auditor would say, okay, you're well below 40% of that prior year's line 505 of the forecast of what you spent in fiscal year 24-25. You know, so again, I think back to the board, this board's done a nice job of laying out what those future capital improvements look like. You know, so I think it is putting the district in a good spot to say, you know, it should be a local decision, it should be a local control thing. You know, we've got things we're looking at. So, you know, I'm hopeful that even if the county auditor gets some type of new power, they can still evaluate our numbers and say, you know, Bath is planning ahead, they've been smart, they've been planning ahead. We don't need to adjust anything with what they're doing. Again, just the ebb and flow of the cash, you can kind of see where we get to June 30, the red would be the fiscal year 25 numbers. When we get the tax settlement, then we spend it down, and this year it's gonna be a little heavier with the transfers to the capital improvement funds. Investments, again, still clicking away. We got Star Ohio, we got the SGS investments, and again, interest rate is still, you know, we're still above 4. You know, so that part is doing well. Food service, again, we kind of talked a lot about this, where this program's at, and you know where it's headed. Federal money ended up just at slightly over 500,000. State money at 15,276. Local dollars at 351. And again, a lot of conversation there on what's the magic price point on the, you know, for the food service. Expenditures are just over $1 million, loss of 180,000. That serving line was about 138,000. So, you know, again, that's their capital improvement for their program. June 30 balance of 803,000. You know, again, trying to balance. You know, we had a lot of discussion on what is the proper price point for the meals, and I think we shook out what we're not increasing for this year. I think we just kept it the same. You know, so sometimes I know that she's battling the menu items and keeping things healthy and trying to keep the price right. So again, we look at this monthly and, you know, try to figure out, you know, what's the best way to try to get it close to break even with the food service. Athletic fund as of June 30. You know, again, basketball, football numbers, you know, haven't changed. And I think this is our year where football's got all the good games at home, right? I think so. Was it Elida Shawnee, Wapak? All three of those at home, maybe? You know, so hopefully the football revenue should be good this year. Total revenue 198,000, expenditures 236, loss of 37.8. That brings the June 30 balance of 44,303 in the athletic fund. General fund expenditures related to athletics would be another 558,000. So again, as we wrap up the fiscal year 24-25, get a feel for, you know, the items that would be related to the sports scenario. Simulations, we look at it from what was coming from the state level as far as for next year, the funding for us, 25-26, possibly growth of 322,000 on the state side. Then 26-27 be 241,000. Again, that fear factor of where we're going to lose some inside millage or we're going to have some adjustment on the local tax side of it. I don't know. We're probably not through that process just yet, but that's what the simulated numbers look like for Bath. I know the report when I was looking at it, I thought it was funny. I think the first year, Dolphins had an increase of like $12 for year one, which I just thought that seemed funny at $12. So it doesn't buy you a whole lot. From the governor, I thought there were a couple good comments from the governor as we start weighing in the line item veto and just where we're going. And I really think, talking about, I thought he was right on cue with when we talk about these issues. They're all complex. He's saying that they were thoughtful, but he's concerned about opposing them now all at once. In our local schools would create a huge problem. None of them guaranteed what we would end up with, and I think there's some truth to that. They threw a lot of things out there, and to do all of them, I don't think they would know what they would end up with. Obviously he cares about the students, and I think he wants a working group that would include a lot of different people to give this critical topic is given the attention deserved. I thought, again, I kind of agree with that. There's a lot of moving parts to it. And sometimes I think to get the right people in the room, and maybe some of those people are the tax people that really aren't associated with the political piece. They're just going to, do some number crunching, and I think you've got to have that. You've got to have that piece of it. Sometimes it's got to be more than just politics in it. There's got to be some data, and there's got to be some truth behind the numbers. And I think this one from the governor talking about, if we're, there was a comment made about the budget commission and at the county level and what that might mean. And again, the budget commission provision breaches the approval of such millage by the voters, and it would impose challenges for the Ohio Department of Taxation calculations. If enacted, the change would empower commissions in Ohio's 88 counties. So again, I think there's some valid concerns there about giving that branch power to override an issue that was already voted by the voters. So the veto override piece, item 55, again, is talking about that county budget commission authority. Again, is that going to be debated, and how much power we're going to give to that piece. 2004 calculation, again, concerns there. If we drop it to 15, it's going to have an impact on what we receive. And then I think item 66 was involving some of the different property tax levies and some restrictions there. The override did not include that cash cap, but I think they may try to get the cash cap through item 55. So again, I think there's more coming on that. I did send a quick note to Senator Manchester. Again, I didn't want to overload her email, but again, I think putting together a group to discuss all sides of the issue, I think makes some sense, and not create a change that's either going to create litigation or constitutional challenges, but making sure we're getting it right on how we're doing it. Voucher ruling, you probably noticed that they did make a ruling. And I always thought this article was very clear to me that, when it talks about that, no religious or other sect or sect shall ever have exclusive right to or control of any part of the school funds of the state. And judge ruled that the vouchers are unconstitutional. The vouchers create a separate, uncommon school system, prevents the state from fully funding its own public school system, gives control over taxpayer money to religious schools, which is expressly forbidden in the Ohio Constitution. So at least for this period of time until it goes through the appeal process, that's where we're at. I did take a stroll today to go out and take a look at the gym just to kind of get a feel for it. And as you can see, they're well on the way. I don't know what the final date is for finish, wrap up, but I think it's definitely going to be by the end of the month. I thought it was interesting looking at, I hadn't talked to anybody about any of the staining was going to be in the keys and stuff, but I'll be curious to see what that final look looks like as far as how dark it is. But they're off to a good start, and like I said, I'm sure the bleachers will be coming in, I would say close to August 1st, to get that part rolling. The other part then I kind of peeked in was they had floor done for the middle school weight room piece, so I did take a peek in there. Better not show that to Coach Russell, he might hijack this little room. But no, I thought it looks nice and cleaned up space, and so yeah, anyway, some good photos. All right, that's all I got. I do list the donation from Zoe Kennedy, 105 per chair.
Do I have a motion to approve?
Move to accept.
Second. Moved by Mr. White, seconded by Mrs. Kelly. Any discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Lighty,
Yes.
Mr. White,
Yes.
Mrs. Ernest,
Yes.
Mrs. Skelly,
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy.
Yes.
Again, I think I kind of hit the highlights of kind of the reports for June 30, June 30, 25. You know, in one piece that on C on this list, you know, the appropriations that I send to the county, I'd like to consolidate those a little bit, make it simplified for the county. If we're going to start fighting about numbers, I'm going to try to put it in as simple form for them as I can. But like I said, the list, the June 30 numbers are kind of in the books, and again, I think the boards put themselves in a good spot as far as the capital improvements planning that you've done. You know, moving forward, I think it will benefit the district.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Lighty, seconded by Mr. Kennedy. Any discussion? Roll call?
Mr. White,
Yes.
Mrs. Ernest,
Yes.
Mrs. Skelly,
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Mr. Lighty.
Yes.
Okay, next is items from the superintendent. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of Bethel School District, a majority of its memberships here within, concurring to approve. Item A, board policy updates. Item B is school fees. Approval of the school fees for the elementary school, middle school, and high school for the 2025-2026 school year. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Kelly, seconded by Mr. Kennedy. Any discussion?
I guess I would just note on the school fees, I thought we had a really good discussion there on trying to, you know, make that a fair number for parents, especially at the elementary level. So I appreciate the conversation there.
And with the policy, we've had not that lengthy of a meeting, but, there's quite a bit there. You may wanna look over a couple of those.
Roll call?
Mrs. Ernest,
Yes.
Mrs. Kelly,
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Mr. Lighty,
Yes.
Mr. White,
Yes.
Okay, item C, laptop fee. Approve school laptop insurance fee of $25 to be assessed to students grades 6 through 12 for the 2025 school year. Students qualifying for free meals under the National School Lunch Act will be waived of the school fee. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Kelly. Do I have a second?
Yes.
Seconded by Mr. Lighty. Any discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Kelly,
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Mr. Lighty,
Yes.
Mr. White,
Yes.
Mrs. Ernest.
Yes. Okay. Next is item D, job description. Approve the job description for the Director of Student Services. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved by Mr. White, seconded by Mr. Lighty. Any discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Mr. Lighty,
Yes.
Mr. White,
Yes.
Mrs. Ernest,
Yes.
Mrs. Kelly.
Yes.
Okay. Item E, purchase a Mamaki printer. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Kelly. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Mr. White. Any discussion?
Again, just to highlight these next two items to be funded with the CTE grant, and we just appreciate, still appreciate those funds to kind of support what we're doing.
Roll call?
Mrs. Ernst,
Yes.
Mrs. Kelly,
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Mr. Lang,
Yes.
Mr. White.
Yes.
Next item, F, CTE equipment purchase, approved purchase of a desktop CNC, a small engine, the basics of electricity, industrial wiring, and HVAC residential wiring from Advanced Technology Consultants for the high school for a total of $107,651 to be paid out of the CTE grant. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Kelly, seconded by Mr. White. Any discussion? Roll call?
Mrs. Kelly,
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Mr. Lang,
Yes.
Mr. White,
Yes.
Mrs. Ernst.
Yes. Okay, item G, contract addendum. Approve the attached addendum to be added to the maintenance supervisor, transportation supervisor, and district technology coordinator's contract, permitting the board to compensate the administrators for all accrued and unused vacation leave credited at the time of separation of employment, at their then daily rate, not to exceed the amount accrued within the last 3 years before the date of separation, not to exceed 60 days. And then also Greg Cogley, retired maintenance supervisor, shall be paid all accrued and unused vacation leave credited at the time of separation of employment at his then daily rate, not to exceed the amount accrued within the last 3 years, before the date of separation, not to exceed 60 days. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved by Mr. Lighty, seconded by Mrs. Kelly. Any discussion?
This item typically would be in the contract, I think it was not listed in the contract, so, and the revised code is probably very similar to the language here, and so I think moving forward, it will be in the contracts as far as this piece. So.
Okay.
Mr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Mr. Lang,
Yes.
Mr. White,
Yes.
Mrs. Ernst,
Yes.
Mrs. Kelly.
Yes.
Okay, next is report from administrators, and we have none. Next on the agenda is hearing of the public items, not on the agenda. We have one, from Mr. Dave McNett. You will have 3 minutes, sir, you can go ahead.
Okay, well, I'd like to, inform the board that Resource, I don't know if you've dealt with them, but we, during the school year, Chris he kept the, kids from going out to recess, the smell was so bad. And I know, Mike and Brian one day had to call the EPA and say they couldn't open the windows because the smell was so bad. And the reason I'm here is it seems like the EPA wants this thing to continue, because I've called the guy a half a dozen times. I keep calling Max on first name basis. And I say, Max, he's out there moving stuff around. The smell's terrible. It's making us sick. And he said, yeah, he shouldn't be doing that. I said, well, Max, why don't you guys pull his lights? He says, well, that's a long process. So I'm getting the feeling from the EPA that they are not going to help us out as much as they should. So I'm asking, if anybody lives around the neighborhood here or smelled this stuff, you need to call the EPA plus other state officials. I called the state attorney general's office, called Mike DeWine's office. I called Matt Huffman, I called Susan Manchester. And we need to put pressure on this because I do not want this to continue. I thought it was stopped for a while there, and then July 4th weekend, it ruined our weekend because we got to smell Resource the whole weekend. So I'm just asking you as board members, and also, this is probably the legality, but I would like to ask the board, we probably can't do this legally, to take down his Resource advertisement sign on the football field and give back any money he paid for that sign. I would gladly deliver it to him and say, we don't want your money, your sign, but of course he could probably file a discrimination suit, and he's a property tax payer, so I think, knowing this guy, I'd like to call him something else, but knowing this guy, it might cause legal trouble, but I would like to consider not to let him put his signs up here and then make an impact on his family and say, look what you're doing to our township. I don't know if you guys smell this stuff, but I know I was talking to Brian, and Brian says he's got a strong stomach, and he says it'll turn your stomach. One day I drove in past him, man, my nose started burning. So I mean, this guy wants to continue, and I talked to some individuals, he wants to expand this, so he puts more of these wedges or piles of dead birds. They're bringing all the dead chickens from the flu, the virus, and they're bringing them all up here and dumping the facility, and he's making money off them. I don't know what's the EPA's motivation, because they're not following regulation. I looked up the regulation, it says, if a dead animal compost facility is causing nuisance odor to the public, then the EPA will stop them from taking dead animals and pull their license. They should have done that months ago, and this would never happen. So anything you guys can do to help, because I know I was talking to some of the teachers, they said that even the kids some days were coming in gagging. They, some of them felt sick to their stomach. So we're all, I'm really, I won't quit until I get this guy shut down from this dead bird smell. Because it's from the epidemic of all those dead birds. So anything you can do, I appreciate it.
Appreciate your comments, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is items from individual board members. Does anyone have anything?
Yeah, so just following up on what Joel spoke about with the budget. So I thank the board, we have taken, frankly, in Bath Township, the lead of trying to create authority and influence beyond our borders here. We've gone to the state, we've talked to the legislature, as Joel pointed out, the changes that have been made in the state budget could at best be described as well-meaning, but were haphazard. And the consequences of those are unknown. The other position I think we have to think about is we are required to have our budget set by June 30th. They delivered it to the governor. He signed it after 11 p.m. on the last day. Now the legislature's coming back on the 21st of July to talk about overriding the vetoes. So they will change the budget language late in July. I think we continue to do the right things. You're reaching out to Senator Manchester and we're trying to get a dialogue. I think having a work group, the only thing I'll take exception to of the comments the governor made is we should put together a work group should have been before you passed legislation, not after. So we need to continue to push that. We need to continue to understand that taking money away from the districts and the resolution we passed was the foundation of that resolution was local control. So the state wants to come in and say what the people lawfully of a school district have said. They want to fund a school, they like the services they get, they want these things. The state now has the ability to come in and override. That is not what we believe in our tiers of government. That is the premise we continue to fight. So I hope everyone continues to stay on top of that. I hope we continue to get some media coverage over that, because if they take away some of these provisions of funding, it's going to hurt the school districts. The other thing that no one is talking about, that everybody needs to be talking about, is House Bill 335, which is the other looming piece, which attacks inside millage. Nobody knows what inside millage is. Let me be very fair about that. So, that is fundamental money that goes to schools and police and fire and the park districts. And if they take that away, the consequence is immediately going to be, for Bath, I believe it's $2.4 million.
Yep.
For our sister district, Shawnee, down the road, it's $1.9 million. So do you believe they're not gonna have to find a new way to either fund the services they're doing or cut services? This is how it works. And when you get into the police and the fire and all these other places, that everybody's gonna be in this situation. This is bad government. So, thank you.
Anyone else?
Mine is not as exciting as Phil's, but the fair's coming up, the Wildcat Den at the fair. Would invite everybody in the room, even you, Jared, to come work at the Wildcat Den, work a shift. Off the top of my head, I don't remember the dates of the fair. I'm trying to block that part out of my mind. But
Starts the 15th, is
yeah,
that right?
yeah. So, but if anybody is also on the PTS website.
Is it out already? No.
Working on it.
And I think people are starting to get informed, and my wife today said that Crystal reached out and said, are we gonna take a shift again?
Yep. Nope, and then, obviously we'll have Missy put out a mass email.
Yeah, that was last year.
Okay, anyone else? No? Okay. Alright, next is executive session, to discuss a matter which is required to be kept confidential. Do I have a motion to go into executive?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Second. Moved by Mr. White, seconded by Mrs. Kelly. Any discussion? Okay, roll call.
Mr. Lighty,
Yes.
Mr. White,
Yes.
Mrs. Ernest,
Yes.
Mrs. Kelly,
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy.
Yes.
Okay, time in 7:46. Okay, we won't have any additional business after,
Thank you,
so
sir.
we are
Good luck to you out there.
Thank you.
go. Put your hair away. Stick around.
I don't know. I'm gonna work some black guys, we're gonna get around here.